Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from secluded winter isolation, weaponized anniversary letters, and the chapel-confined boundaries of Highland marriage mysteries, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of multi-generational family trauma, weaponized dark web conspiracy loops, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an endangered network of sister assets running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, paranoia-slicked parameters of a scorched, affluent Georgia landscape, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of a devastating, blood-soaked sadism matrix with pretty girls, the exceptional, pulse-pounding psychological suspense masterpiece engineered by the absolute undisputed global sovereign of breathtaking domestic secrets, razor-sharp forensic traps, and high-velocity relational friction, Karin Slaughter. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where an endangered primary sisterly alliance running an unyielding truth extraction loop, a calculating manipulative shadow network of elite societal predators running an elite proximity tracking and standard sanity erasure routine, and an absolute defense against a terrifying underground confined torture containment zone collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn psychological journeys where endangered, hyper-observant female protagonists must navigate an absolute maze of rigged institutional cover-ups, corrupt dark web digital blueprints, and a deadly ring of active personal tracking frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised domestic ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated forensic excavation boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner asset, weaponizing highly advanced video surveillance technology mechanics, and where the author utilizes an incandescent two estranged sisters unite after a brutal murder, only to discover a monstrous 20-year-old conspiracy linking their missing sister to the hidden snuff film empire of a seemingly perfect dead husband, diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This book is engineered to lock you in. Slaughter completely dominates the high-precision visceral jeopardy meets suffocating identity erasure puzzles dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating domestic paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre vargs like Gillian Flynn, Mo Hader, Cody McFadden, and Tess Gerritsen, while treating realistic forensic autopsy logistics, complex dark possessive loyalty arcs, and protective high-density isolation extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse sister assets, Claire Scott, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of sudden widowhood, absolute safety network liquidation logs, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within her late husband's hidden digital database, and Lydia Delgado, a fiercely protective, hyper-vigilant recovery asset, running an active emotional defense grid against a background of severe historical trauma. Behind our protagonists' rigorous societal footprints, defensive conversational shields, and sharp observation metrics lies an intricate matrix of hidden structural vulnerabilities, deeply buried grief over their missing sister Julia, and sharp high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Their collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight following an abrupt alleyway ambush sequence, their entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from an encroaching wealthy elite predation and internal municipal threat network, parsing complex behavioral shifts in their daily interactions, and shielding their vulnerable personal sovereignty nodes from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless systemic cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches their active scanning perimeter. After the violent execution of Claire's husband Paul, our primary asset network registers a total security breach when a midnight digital excavation initiates an irregular psychological onboarding sequence, systematically tracking Paul's hidden server logs, matching dark web identity coordinates, and forcing them into a proximity tracking matrix with an unspeakable underground tracking empire. Behind Paul's pristine, smooth celebrity architect facade and elite behavioral mapping style lies an intricate matrix of severe ideological warfare and a cold, calculation-heavy target containment blueprint. As the hostile adversarial investigation phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across a ticking clock timeline, the unauthorized discovery of missing teenage girl files, hidden subterranean recording rigs, and a legacy of active systemic blackmail reveals that their entire family structure was an explicitly engineered playground for monsters. The standard boundaries of routine domestic courtesy and peaceful civilian compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active, invisible war behind closed suburban and underground doors, where a highly manipulative psychological gaslighting matrix launches aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress their survival data stream and execute their complete systemic erasure. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the large luxury estates, dark subterranean concrete bunkers, and private residential rooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroines are forced to deploy their massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to preserve their focus before their adversary's relentless, calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes their boundaries. The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, shifting dynamically between the visceral physical trauma records of the past and the desperate modern puzzle-solving of the present, determined to deploy deep sensory manipulation loops, continuous psychological gaslighting via corrupted law enforcement networks, and persistent dominance to shatter their defense, only to realize their hardened survival protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their opponent's raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight archival excavation of their late father's obsessive investigative journals, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching apex predator behind standard structural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at their reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Predator Network's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Karin Slaughter reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial backwards ambush or managing an invasive digital audit. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and absolute primal supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their building sisterly survival alliance, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that deep-seated obsession has tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending lock-grid trap and permanently secure their sanctuary, our resilient protagonist must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of their final boundary lines. It is a sister's psychological thriller, underground captivity noir, dark web forensic mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one unencrypted hard drive video triggers a fatal bunker showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Slaughter writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, copper wires, cold concrete rust, damp soil, dark adrenaline, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary franchise installment marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute, jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. Pretty Girls is the definitive, pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputtable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.